We have our perfect nativity scenes. Maybe you have one in your house. It seems like it's always pristine. And it seems like baby Jesus is always smiling and never crying. Mary just looks like she's Instagram ready, no sweat after giving birth, no dirt. They just look perfect. Maybe that's just kind of in our mind, the picture of the nativity. Then there's the kids' versions, kind of cartoonish, maybe Sunday school version, or something you'd see at Hobby Lobby. And it seems too like every animal is smiling. The sheep are smiling, and Mary's smiling. The wise men are smiling. Little halo on the angel. Then this year, if you look up hipster nativity scene, you can find this. Don't do it now. Let this hour be sacred, but later look up hipster nativity. You'll find Joseph taking a selfie with the baby Jesus. What you can't see here is he also has a man bun. And then Mary has like this Starbucks latte, giving the peace sign, and it's a kind of mythical nativity scene. And that's kind of the way our nativities tend to be, mythological. Maybe not quite true, not quite right. Reality was not glossy. It was gritty. Didn't look like the nativity scenes under our tree or even the one in our commons. Israel was occupied territory of the Roman Empire. It was a messy space. Bethlehem was kind of a two-star town in the shadow of Jerusalem. I am unqualified as a man to speak about childbirth, but I can say that birthing is a messy affair. And animals smell, and the first nativity was not sanitary. It just wasn't. I don't want to ruin what could be one of your favorite Christmas hymns, but Silent Night is not entirely accurate. We're going to sing it later. Okay, you're going to get your glow stick out, and we're going to sing Silent Night, Holy Night. All is calm, all is bright. But Jesus was born into the real world. And the real world is not silent or holy. It's not calm. It's not bright. And you might feel this tension in your life. You get it. You know it. It's true. The tension between, on the one hand, kind of this pristine nativity scene, the gloss, and on the other hand, the grit of real life that you know and that you feel. And it happens on a night like tonight or tomorrow or Christmas Day. There's kind of the picture-perfect nativity. And church can be like that. You all got cleaned up tonight. You look good. And you dressed up. And you came here. Maybe you have a drink, you eat some cocktail shrimp, and you put a smile on and you go to church. But you know, life is not that shiny. You're getting older, and you don't believe in magic anymore. And miracles are for storybooks. And mangers are plastic toys that are made in factories. Someone is missing this year, someone that you love. Maybe they're not here this year. There's an empty space. A parent and a child haven't talked to each other in a year. Your body betrays you with age and illness. John chapter 1, verse 10 is not the verse you're going to put on your Christmas card, but it goes like this. Talking about Jesus, he was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. John, the gospel writer, never uses the word world in a positive sense. So John, that's also John 3:16, God so loved the world. Whenever he uses the word world, it's not positive. It's the word cosmos in Greek. It doesn't mean what a wonderful world. It doesn't mean what a beautiful humanity we are on this planet. That's not what John means by the word world. What he means is the world in all of its rebellion, the world in its coup against the Maker, the world against, the world unholy, the world fighting against its God. Not a holy world, but an unholy one. That's what John means when he uses the word world. But then John says this. This is John 1:9. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. He says, the true light was coming into the world. Do you know what that means? Do you get it? Into the world and all of its devious schemes and systems and all of its sin. God's love is unfathomable. Not because he came to a good people in a good world on a holy night, but it's unfathomable because he came to a wicked world, to a lost people on an unholy night. That's what makes this verse, this word, so profound. That God would do that. When I was 20, in college, I went to Israel for 3 weeks. They call it the Holy Land. And I was a little bit naive. I kind of thought that I was going to see Jesus walking around in the Holy Land. In my mind, Bethlehem was like my parents' nativity scene on the piano. And in my mind, Jerusalem was like the cartoon picture from Sunday school lessons. That's what I had in my mind. So I showed up. You get off the plane in Tel Aviv, and Israeli agents interrogated me. Where are you coming from? What are your intentions? Why are you here? Do you have any weapons with you? Next to me was my friend also coming with me. His name is Akbar Muhammad, African-American young man, a good friend of mine, and his dad is Muslim. But Akbar was a Lutheran. He is a Lutheran Christian. I won't tell you how his interrogation went. It took a little while to get him through the line. We go into Israel. We go into Jerusalem. It was crowded, like most cities, noisy, smelly. Israeli troops patrolling the streets with assault rifles, all kinds of noises and smells. Christians and Jews and Muslims are fighting over a very tiny piece of geography. And even the Christians, they fight with themselves. And after a while, just a few days, I had a crisis of faith. I said, God, is this it? Is this the Holy Land? Where is Jesus in this? This is not what I expected. And so I started walking the city. I was walking down a narrow street. It smelled like urine. And I heard shopkeepers haggling with tourists over knickknacks and trinkets, and a man kind of crumpled in a heap in a corner, begging, his head down, his hand out. And right at that moment, it hit me. This is exactly the world that Jesus entered. This unholy world. That's where he came. The writer Anne Lamott recounts a time when she was with another writer and friend named Wendell Berry. They were looking at a gloomy, rainy day, just looking at the landscape. It was silent. And Wendell Berry broke the silence, and he said, as if speaking to no one in particular, it gets darker and darker. And then Jesus comes. Jesus didn't wait for the calm. He came into the chaos. Jesus didn't wait for the bright. He came into the darkness. Jesus didn't wait for you to have all of your stuff together before he came. He came to you just as you are, not as you should be, to an unholy people on an unholy night. It's the profound truth that we still get out of bed for and we still go to church for, to celebrate. That God would come to an unholy people just like us. I want you to remember this fact beyond tonight. I don't want you just to come to church, have a good time, and go home and go back to life. You cannot go back to life as usual. You cannot go back to normal when you realize that God has come so close to you to remind you of this wild truth. I want you to take a card out from in front of you, the seat backs in front of you. If you're at home watching this online, you see it on the screen. It's a piece of art. A friend of mine, Carl Fay, I've shared some of his work before. It reminds us of a holy child come to an unholy, not silent night, but noisy night. The infant, holy and vulnerable, wrapped in a cloud of chaos, like a tornado of chaos. Not the perfect place to be born, but the unholy place. And still he came, and still he is here to die for us, to forgive us, to heal us, this holy child in an unholy planet. We've had a lot of tragedy in the last couple of years, and even in our own community, in our own church, in the last few weeks, there have been tragedies and crises and sadnesses. And isn't it just that way? Maybe it's happened to you that when the holidays come, stuff like that seems to happen. And so, if you have the sense, the strange sense, that this night isn't quite so silent or holy, so calm or bright, hear the word again. As John puts it, the true light was coming into the world, into this world, into an unholy world, and to people like you and me. It gets darker and darker. And when it gets darker, Jesus comes. Amen.